first up, we got Becky Walker from Oxford HIA. And Becky, if you're okay to share your slides, we can hear about the good work that's happening in Oxford.
Right, hello everybody. I'm Becky Walker. I'm from Oxford City Council Home Improvement Agency. So we're just going to talk to you about some of the things that we've done with our regulatory reform order. So this is very quickly, this is our team. So we're quite a small home improvement agency. It's just in Oxford City. We've got 7 members of staff, 2 of which are a funded occupational therapist, an adult one and a children's one that sits in our team. And we've also got an apprentice, this young lad on the left, who's an apprentice handy person. So we're trying to train him up as well, and 2 surveyors. So we've got a range of grants available. We've got our regulatory reform order that sits behind everything, but we've tried to split all of our offer into 4 main leaflets. So we've got the leaflets about adapting your home, we've got a leaflet about heating your home, we've got a leaflet about handy person, small repairs, and then we've got another leaflet about major repairs. Some of the more eagle-eyed of you might have noticed we've got a couple more there, one of which is we've done a specific DFG leaflet or an adaptation leaflet for children because they're quite different, and it's aimed at families. And we've also recently developed a landlord's leaflet to try and encourage more landlords to apply, or encourage to allow them to let their tenants apply, I would say, and to give permission, to just explaining some of the myths behind it. So when we started to look at our regulatory reform order, we obviously just didn't want to go on our own back and try and sort that out ourselves. So we met our Better Care Fund leads, we went to the hospital discharge teams and asked them what they actually wanted to use the money for, and what was the really good things that were stopping hospital discharge, and what was really important in Oxford. One of the things in Oxford specifically was around the number of falls. We've got quite a high fall rate in Oxford. So we consulted with them, we went and spoke to the occupational therapist, we spoke to social services, and then we talked to some of our local groups as well, and also looked at things like our JSNA and all our local data that we've got. More importantly as well, we had a look in the Home Improvement Agency about the people that we couldn't help, because we had years and years of data of people that had fallen out of the normal DFG process, that either couldn't afford contributions or they didn't meet the DFG criteria or whatever. So we had all that data as well. So we put all that together and came up with a list of things that we wanted to do. So this is our policy, and it's on the website, and anybody can look at it. I say we mainly try and promote the leaflets because we don't want people to get bogged down in which grant they have to apply for and what eligibility there is and everything else. We just want them to come with us with a problem, and then we'll try and find the solution that's best for them rather than worrying about grants. But if anybody wants to read it, it's all on there, and that's all the different grants that we offer. So we have also got repairs and assistance grants available. So these don't come out of DFG funding, but they're things that we offer at the district council. So we've got a flexible home improvement loan that helps people repair their homes and releases the equity in their houses. And we've also got a grant for this. So this is for people on low income to help them repair their grants, repair their properties if they can't afford to do it. The main thing we set up with our regulatory reform order is a safe and secure grant. So this is everything around keeping people in their own homes that you were saying, and trying to keep them safe in their own homes. So it's anything to prevent falls around the home, anything to reduce hazards and risks that are likely to cause them harm, anything that helps them get out of hospital and enables hospital discharge or prevents them going back in. So we do, and we haven't specifically written a list of things that we will fund and things that we won't, because every person is different. And that's what the hospitals were saying, that very often there are assistants available, but it says I will only fund A, B, C, D and E, and they say, well, what about F? And they can't do it because it's not in the list. So we've made it quite broad that if it enables them to come out of hospital and it prevents falls and prevents hazards, then we will fund it. So that's some of the things that we'll do. We also help with standalone assistive technology devices that aren't funded from social services. We would do security repairs, and we also recently added people who have victims of domestic abuse or burglary as well. We'll help with that. So this is just somebody that got referred to us by the hospital. It was a person with extreme hoarding, and they were unable to come out of hospital. They were a 58-year-old person, awaiting hospital discharge. They couldn't come out of hospital because of their home. The house needed a deep clean, and they needed to be able to get a hospital bed in this room, and they couldn't do it. There was also no heating, and there wasn't any safe cooking conditions as well for the person. So from the hospital point of view, they just couldn't send them home. So this was it afterwards. So we managed to install a heating system because they hadn't had heating for 2 years. We managed to arrange a deep clean and get rid of some of the hoarding items in their house. We provided a microwave because the person was going to come out of hospital and there was no way for them to cook. So they needed a carer to come in and provide meals for them. So they needed a microwave. We managed to get them some bed linen because they couldn't come home again from hospital, so they didn't have any clean bed linen. And we installed a key safe so the carer could get in to come and help this person. We also changed the Yale lock because when they got taken into hospital, their lock on the front door got broken into so they could get them into hospital. So that was something that was boarded up. And we also coordinated the hospital bed being delivered. So there was a lot of things going on there, and they're all quite simple things that we could help with. And we used a variety of different grants to help fund that. But in the end, all the hospital had to do is refer that person through to us, and we coordinated everything, and it meant the person could go home. So the other thing we've set up is a discretionary disabled facility grant. And the main things of this, we were finding a lot of people that couldn't have a disabled facility grant done because they needed repairs doing in their house in order to have the grant, and you can't do repairs under current DFG legislation. But if somebody's on really low income and their house needs rewiring, or they need a new fuse box in order to fit a level access shower or a stair lift, then that stair lift or level access shower is not going to happen. So we set up a grant specifically to allow, if they were disabled and they're on low income, that we could do repairs in order for them to have the DFG. And then we've also got this sentence in here, which is other works to provide a solution for vulnerable and disabled adaptations needs subject to the head of service. And that's a catch-all phrase, so that no matter how you write your policy, there will always be people that come along that don't meet that policy. Everybody involved knows that that person needs this help and they should be helped, but there just isn't, they just don't fit into any of our boxes. So we put this sentence in so I can actually write a case, send it into our head of service and say, we've got this disabled person, they're on low income, they need this thing, it will help them keep safe and it meets all the aims that we want to do. And then they can approve it. And that's been really, really useful. And that can help with things like hoarding cases. We've also set up a relocation grant. So generally home improvement agencies are there to help people stay in their own homes, but if it's more appropriate for them to move somewhere else, sometimes they can't do that because they can't afford the moving costs of actually physically moving or fitting in utilities and things like that. So we've got a relocation grant, and that's for somebody who needs a disabled facility grant. Their house isn't suitable and it's more appropriate for them to move. And then recently we've also set up a top-up grant, because as everybody knows, the £30,000 limit doesn't go anywhere nowadays with increasing building costs. So we set up a top-up grant, and again, it's for people who are in the greatest needs and unable to get the funding from any other sources. Then we will pay up to £30,000 on top of the maximum DFG to help them with that. So we didn't stop there, because we keep looking at things to make us improve and everything else. So we've set up mobile working for our technical officers or caseworkers. That's one of our caseworkers, they're using it. So in the past, we used to take out loads and loads of forms, and the poor people used to have to sign 3 or 4 different forms in order to apply for the grant. Now everything's done on Case Manager. Using electronically on our tablet. The person just signs it once with their hand, and that then creates all the forms that we need in order to satisfy the disabled facility grant. It also means that we can immediately refer them on to other help. So rather than having to wait for the caseworker or technical officer to get back to the office to refer them on to forever help, for boiler help, for hand person help, they can do that immediately in the person's home. We've also joined up with the DWP, thankfully Foundations promoted that with us, so we can now access people's benefits. For people who are not on the non-means grant, we have to still check their benefits, and in order to do that, most people haven't got the paperwork and don't know what they're on, so it just makes it an awful lot quicker. When we've got their permission, we can just look that up for them. We have, as part of our regulatory form order, introduced a non-means tested grant, which is up to £10,000, and that was after consultation with occupational therapists, because most of the cases they've got coming in now are a combination of 1 or 2 things. They want a level access shower and a ramp, or a level access shower and a stair lift. So we do a non-means tested grant as well. We've got an occupational therapist portal set up, so if occupational therapists want to send referrals directly into us, they can do it on Case Manager, and it immediately creates a case, and as soon as they do it, it pops up on our screen, so there's no delay with sending that information over. And we've set that up as well for advice cases now, so if they want us to just go and see somebody and help them with their heating or help them with any repairs, they can refer that through as well. And we're in conjunction with Foundations at the moment, we're also setting up a partner referral, so that people who want to send referrals to us from the hospitals or from the carers organisations to fit key safes, or a dementia organisation, at the moment they email us, and then we have to create that case. Again, we're setting up an online portal, so it creates the case directly into our system and we can act on it immediately. So we've also set up a project. Well, I say it's a project. It's now been written into our regulatory form order, so it'll be going forever. But this is working with Dementia Oxfordshire, and this is to provide some of the items that people need in order to keep them safe in their own homes that aren't provided from social services. So it's things like signage for the rooms, big button telephones, whiteboards we've got there to remind people what they need to do, so that we've got so-and-so coming in at 10 o'clock to pick you up today. We've got the clocks that tell people whether it's daytime or nighttime, all the various different things that help people remain at home as much as possible, because dementia is a real problem in our area. We also find, amazingly, that most people we go and see with dementia don't just need these 1 or 2 things that we go and put in for them. We very often find that when we get there, they haven't had heating for 2 or 3 years, they haven't had toilets that are working for years on end, and they've just been barely coping basically with the dementia and caring for that person, so they haven't had the time to do the repairs and the other issues that come up. So very often when we come along, we can also support them with those things as well. Most of the items that we do with dementia, the average cost is about £80 per person. It's a tiny amount of money, but it makes a massive difference for people with dementia. That was so popular as well. We then expanded that to the work with the falls prevention team. Obviously, they've got their minor works that they can refer through, but anything that doesn't come under minor works that's going to stop somebody falling is something that we want to fund. So we also set up a scheme with them so that anything that isn't funded, they can refer straight through to us, and our handy person will go and fit it. And with the dementia scheme and the falls prevention scheme and Key Safe, generally that's done within the same day if we can, if not it's the next day. We've also been giving out free carbon monoxide detectors to all disabled people within our area, because we had some training on that with the carbon monoxide people. And we also give out these sensor lights as well that could stop people falling. So they're, for example, they come on automatically and you can put them on the side of a bed. So if somebody gets out of bed at night and it's dark, they step out and the light comes on, and then if they want to go to the toilet, for example, that happens a lot at night, it just stops people falling. So it can be something that our caseworkers can just fit and give to people. We also helped fund Good Chim charity, so they're up and running now on their own within Oxfordshire, but we helped set it up initially. And this is a group of runners that go around and keep fit, but at the same time they then go and do small projects for other people. So they can go and help people with practical tasks when they finish their running. You can get a big group of them together and do larger tasks like setting up community centres and helping set gardens and all sorts of things like that. They can also help with things like technology. So if somebody's television needs retuning and things like that, they can do it all while they're keeping fit. So it's a really, really good organisation. But it's something we wanted to join up with because they can help with the things that we can't. Excuse me. And we've also got a heating scheme. So we've joined up with Gas Safe, which is from the Foundation's Independent Living Trust. And that's to help people with elder and disabled people with free boiler servicing if they needed. For example, we went to see somebody on Monday, we'd fitted a stair lift for this person, offered them a free boiler service, which they haven't been able to afford. We went, our engineer went round and they'd have a massive crack in their boiler, which had been leaking gas. So it had to be immediately condemned. But if we hadn't offered that person, obviously we've sorted out the boiler and given them a new one, don't worry. But if we hadn't had offered that person a free boiler servicing, they would have been continuing to use that boiler, which is a really worrying thing. So we're really glad for the help that Gas Safe give us with that. And we can do any gas safety works with that as well. So we do a lot of gas cooker changes, for example, people with dementia and things like that. We also provide energy efficiency repairs, so small ones like draft proofing, radiator panels, valves, all sorts of things to keep people warm. And we also help with boiler replacements as well, if people need them. Most of those things talking about gas, but we do help with electrical heating as well if people need it. We also got some funding last year with some extra money to help people with energy efficiency measures, and we all got energy efficiency training as part of that, which was really good, so we're able to help people. And I think that's everything.
Right, thank you, Becky.
I'm sure there's something else, but
I know you've got to run off quite shortly. There's just a couple of questions, and some of them we may have to come back to you on because there's quite a few here. So I'll just pick a few because I know you've got to run. But lots of people saying it's an amazing service and wishing they had something similar in their area, I think. So just to pick out a couple of them, in terms of the kind of hoarding case study that you showed, did you know how long it was kind of between the before and after pictures?
That one was about a week.
Yep, so it's a pretty quick.
Yeah, because it's we'd already got our plumber that we work with, because we do quite a lot of work with them. They buy a lot of boilers up front, so that if we need anything really desperately, they've always got a load in stock. They can go around quite quickly and sort it out. So yeah, that particular one was desperate to come out of hospital because they've been waiting quite a while by the time they got in contact with us.
Yeah. And so in terms of prioritization, do you have kind of difficulty working out who to help, or are you kind of in a fortunate position where you've got kind of funds available to kind of meet the demand that you're faced with?
Yeah, we've always managed to spend most of all of our DFG allocation last year, but yeah, it is. I've always been of the opinion, even when we first started, that the DFG is a fantastic facility, but it only helps a small amount of people. And I really wanted to make that money go further and help more people. And I think that's what we managed to do within Oxford City. So priority-wise, all of our discretionary stuff is dependent on, obviously, us having enough funding, because if we haven't got enough funding, then we'd have to stop doing the discretionary stuff. But at the moment, luckily, we've got it. We will go to any charities and try and get any bit of extra funding we can try and find from anybody that will give it to us, basically.
Yeah, I think, as you kind of said during the presentation, you have quite a range of different funding streams merging into that, don't you?
Yeah, and for priority-wise, obviously, anything that's hospital discharge or a safety or falls risk, we try and do within the same day if it's at all possible.
Amazing, mate. And yeah, I think it just kind of shows that once you've got the DFG there, there's kind of stuff you can build around it if you're kind of using that as the basis to do all sorts of other services. You've got the, I suppose in some ways it's the kind of ambition and the imagination to see what's there and available to do.
Yeah. We also give out warm packs and temporary heating and all that sort of stuff as well. I'm sure everybody else does, but
not everybody, not everybody. And there were a few people asking about the searchlight, DWP searchlights. I think you've been using that for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, there's an email that came out from foundations, basically because you were working with DWP, that was saying that if you're in the home improvement agency in the council, then you could have access to that. It's available to anybody that works in the benefits teams and councils at the moment, but they're also saying that we could have access to it because we're accessing the grants on behalf of people. It's called Searchlight. I'm sure Paul could send around the information about it again, but it's been really useful.
Yeah, details are on the foundation's website if anybody wants to find out about that. But that's great. Thank you, Becky. I know you've got to run and do some interviews, but that's been really useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.